Hello, this is Angelia with today's wisdom. Today's wisdom comes from Daily Ohm, Layers of Feeling, Coping with Passive Aggression. Oh, that's always fun, isn't it? We all know someone who's a passive aggressive person, and those little barbs they like to sling out at you, and you're just like, whatever. Many people are taught from a young age to suppress feelings commonly regarded as negative, such as anger, resentment, fear, and sorrow. And that's something I told my kids: don't repress, don't hang it in, don't let it out, let it out. If you have to go like scream into your pillow, go do it. Because if you leave your emotions inside and try to be a people pleaser and not express them, you're going to end up with anxiety. You're going to end up with ulcers because you're keeping all this stuff inside, and it's garbage and it's going to fester. We all know what happens when garbage festers. So you got to let it out. Those who cannot or will not express these emotions tend to engage in passive aggressive behaviors that provide them with a means of redirecting their feelings. So they think they're not really being that mean. They're not being outright aggressive. They're just saying some little snippy thing that, makes them feel better. Passive aggression can take many forms. People who feel guilty saying no may continually break their promises because they couldn't say no when they meant it. And I've known people like that. They want to take on everything, and then they want to call and say, oh, no. And then they get a reputation as being unreliable, but the facts are they should have said no to begin with. I've ticked off people many a day because I was like, nope, can't do that, won't do that, whatever. And then they're like, but you're like, sorry. I'd rather be honest with you than tell you I'm going to do something for you and then not be able to do it, Others will substitute snide praise for a slur to distance themselves from the intense emotions they feel. So again, somebody might say something like really nice, sort of, but in the statement there's also a little dig at you, and that's what I get from several people. So more often than not, such behavior is a cry for help, uttered by those in need of compassion and gentle guidance. And I try to have that for people. There's a limit. I have a line. Everyone does. But, if you can kind of look at the person and what their life is like and what they're dealing with, sometimes you can take a deep breath and try to, have a little compassion for them and try to guide them in a different way, When we recognize passive-aggressive patterns in the behavior of others, we should never allow ourselves to be drawn into a struggle for power. Because who's in power? Exactly. So, and it's something that, I was taught about dominating children. And I decided I did not want to be that way. That I was the boss. I was the mom. What I said went. There was no question on that one. But I didn't want to, dominate. It's like when my son said he understood that I didn't want domination. I wanted cooperation. And that's good. Because that's what I want them to understand. It wasn't about me dominating you. I'm the boss. No, I am the boss. I don't have to be the boss. I don't have to prove to you I'm the boss because I am. Facts are that. But yes, I wanted you to cooperate with me because you were young. You didn't know everything. You had to grow up and learn. So, and anybody who tries to be over you, in charge of you, blah, 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 that's because they're insecure. And they feel the need to exert that power over you. Otherwise, they wouldn't feel the need to do that, The best bosses I ever had, they never felt the need to do that. They were like, do your thing as long as it gets done, because they understood. Passive aggression is most often wielded by those who feel powerless in the face of what they perceive as negative emotions because they hope to avoid confronting their true feelings. And like I said, there are people who we're taught to be nice people pleasers, never say anything mean or negative, always cooperate. And that, like I said, can get you an ulcer pretty quick. It can make you feeling embittered toward others who there really was no reason to feel embittered towards, because it's kind of all the thing you're doing. They feel they are in control because they do not display overt emotions and often cannot understand how they have alienated their peers. Because just because you're not overtly being aggressive, people understand where you're being passive aggressive, because some of the stuff you say is nasty, snide, snippy, mean stuff, and we hear it, we get it. You might think you're tricking us, but no, you're not. We hear it and we understand it for what it is. So that's why you alienate your peers. It's because you're saying mean, nasty, snippy stuff that you're covering with a compliment, sort of a backhanded compliment. And you're thinking people don't know, but trust me, people know. We hear you. If someone close to us shows signs of frustration or annoyance, but claims nothing is amiss, we can point out that their tone of voice or gestures are communicating a different message and invite them to confide in us. So yeah, sometimes your tone or, your body language, says things that you're not necessarily saying with your mouth, and we can pick up on that too, especially women, because we have that lovely corpus callosum where there's 3 times connections as men have, so our emotional and our logical side talk to each other a little 3 times faster or so. So we have what men call intuition, but it's really not intuition, it's just the way our brains work. We catch it, we get it, we understand the veiled aggression. We're better at reading that than men are. When we feel slighted by a backhanded compliment, it is important that we calmly explain how the jibe made us feel and why. So sometimes, I'll say, that was unnecessary, and usually that's enough to make them check themselves, like, oh, yeah, it kind of was. So, because there's just no reason for stuff like that. It just speaks to insecurity, and I don't understand it, I don't get it. And when an individual continually breaks their promises, we can help them understand that they are free to say no if they're unwilling to be of service. So, it's okay to say no. If you don't want to do something for somebody, PTA or some club or whatever, you say, no, I got so much on my plate right now, I just can't do that. I wouldn't have the time. And just be honest with them, and they might not like that, but, it's better than saying you will and then you won't. So, as you learn to detect passive aggression, you may be surprised to see a hint of it in yourself. And of course, we all sometimes, because we don't want to call out people and just be overtly aggressive and say, that was a dick move, you're a jerk. You don't want to say that to people. But so sometimes you'll just kind of let people know, hey, what I've done was this, but again, we're not in the world to parent each other, but it's okay if someone hurts your feelings and is doing something to you, that you can tell them that, because that's not okay. Coping with passive aggression, and people with this tendency, they can veil intense emotions. It can be as simple as reminding yourself that expressing your true feelings is healthy, and it's a lot healthier than holding them in and trying to be a people pleaser. The emotions typically regarded as negative will frequently be those that inspire you to change yourself and your life for the better, whereas passive aggressive behavior is a means of avoiding change. And that's because people, whenever they feel their belief system, their, way of thinking, feeling, doing threatened in any way, they react, they defend. So rather than, learning, sometimes people don't want to learn. They want to be where they're at. They like the status quo, that's called ignorance. But to defend that, they'll start throwing out some, passive aggression or even overt aggression sometimes, because they don't want to change their way of thinking. That's the way they were brought up or how they developed their thought process or whatever, and they just don't want to consider anything else. So your differences offend them. When you deal constructively with your feelings, you can put them behind you and move forward unencumbered by unexplored emotions. So yeah, feel your feelings. Be real, and there's no reason for power struggles. There's no reason to be passive aggressive. We all know we have layers of feelings. Like Shrek said, we're like an onion. But coping with passive aggressiveness is sometimes hard when you have to deal with other people who are doing it. But just coming out right and saying, hey, did you mean this? Because that's what it sounded like to me. And then they're like, oh, no. But that's a lie. So, and if you find yourself doing it, take a step back and say, yeah, why am I doing that? What's the reason? Because clearly I feel there's a problem that I feel like I need to do that. And why is that? Think about it. Please like and share this wisdom so we can spread it around the world. If you want to help me out, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you want to help me out even more, go to my Patreon page and become a patron. That's all for now. Until next time.